What I'd like to go over today are the unstructured activities that are available in IBM BPM 8.55 and later. I'm using 8.56. So first off, I'd like to show you what the behavior looks like. So in my standard IBM BPM portal, I've gone to the Processes tab, and I've looked for this specific process I've defined, and here's a running instance. So if I click on this, it will take me to the process instance page. So what we're seeing is the instance page, and on this process I haven't exposed any data, but you'll see there's one task that is ready to run. It's been started and ready to be claimed and ready to be run. And then over here on the right side of the page, you see the activities. These are the ad hoc activities. These are activities which they're not part of the process flow. They can be selected and they can be run. You'll notice that some of them are green arrows. Those indicate activities that can be run right now. They're ready to be run. The difference between the green circle and the white circle is that this activity is required for the process to complete. This other activity is optional. It does not have to be run for the process to complete. Then you'll notice down here I have these other activities that are purple. The purple activities basically mean they're waiting for something. They're waiting for some condition. And in this case, it looks like there's a flag that needs to be set to true before this one can be run. And I believe the same is true for this one here. So unlike your standard processes where activities that need to be run are determined by the process flow and they show up in your task list, when you are using these ad hoc activities, you have to check right here. This shows you the things that are possible to run. It's much more like case management pattern, much more of a case-like work pattern where the user comes in and decides when things should be run rather than a process flow establishing what should be run. So if we go over to the process designer and we look at the diagram for this process, you'll see that I've got 4 activities here and they're not connected to anything. Now, if we look at the implementation of these, I'll look at this first one here. The implementation basically says the activity runs even though it does not have an inbound flow. And then we can define the activity behavior. We have choice between the process automatically running the activity or the activity being selected and run by the user. That's what I've chosen for this one. And then you can specify, is this activity required, which basically means this activity must be completed for the instance to complete. And I've said yes for that. Now I've got some other activities here that are a little bit different. This one below, you can see that it is manual also. By the way, this little kind of run button, little icon there, that indicates that it's manually started instead of automatically started. And this one is optional. Now, these other two are a little bit more interesting because they define preconditions. And basically, it's the same, except I checked this. There are preconditions that must be met before the activity can be performed. And that, by the way, shows up back here on the portal, right? That's where this indication is that these are not ready to be run yet because they have a precondition. And then I can see what the precondition is. And I can, in this case, I'm checking a flag to see that it's equal to true. I can add multiple conditions just by pressing this little plus sign, and I can choose between it must be all conditions or any conditions. So that allows you to set up logic so that you have activities. It could be a required activity, but if the preconditions aren't met, it cannot be started. Or it could be an optional activity with the same sort of a thing where it's optional, you don't have to run it, but in order to run it, this precondition had to have been set to true beforehand. And then there's other options here, repeatable, hidden, that I think you can play around with on your own. Anyway, it's very easy to do. So let me go back to my process and run it so that you can see basically what the user experience would be. So I've got this launch activity, this standard activity in the flow. The coach comes up. I just use the activity wizard to create these. These are nothing fancy, but here's a string that I can enter something into. And then I'm going to basically say that the precondition for optionals is satisfied And I'm going to say that the precondition for the required condition is satisfied. And then when I submit that, it comes back to the instance page. And you can see that those two that were purple before, they are now green. Now, the difference between the required and the optional is that if I complete all of the requireds, so I'm going to start this, I'm going to assign it to me and start this activity, which brings up the coach. And once again, I just use the activity wizard for this. I enter in whatever is necessary for that activity. Then when the instance page comes back up, I see these are the remaining things. I have 2 optional activities. I only have 1 more required activity. So I'm going to go ahead and run that required activity. And this was the one that had the precondition. Once again, I'm going to assign it to me and start. There it goes. Get a nice little message. The coach comes up. I enter in whatever is necessary. I complete the activity. And it'll come back to the instance page again. Now here I am on the instance page, and you'll notice the instance is completed. Well, it completed because those other 2 activities, they were optional. They did not need to be completed for the instance to complete. Anyway, that was kind of a quick run through, but that is how these optional, required ad hoc activities work in IBM BPM standard. I think you can see there are certain situations where this would be quite useful. I hope that was helpful to you.